So, the first topic of discussion for today. The single most important thing you can do is to give IT products a longer life. Now, this is something that we keep hammering one more year, give it a longer life. Why don't we start with a question to you, Siddharth? Are IT products designed to be durable, or what have you seen in your research?
Well, the fact is that no products are built to last forever, and all the products we use today have a specific technical lifetime. So for deciding about the technical lifetime, there are lots of parameters which go into the decision making of a product engineer, like, for example, the price, the innovation cycles, the expectations from the consumers, but also environmental stress and the use stress, which under which the products are put into when they are used. So all these factors determine how long the product is going to be used. But the problem is that the end consumers, including the public procurement agencies, are not aware of all these decisions which go into defining a product lifetime. So there is a certain kind of information asymmetry between the manufacturers who design the products and the end consumers. And we are still far away from something like a lifetime labeling requirement within a mandatory product policy framework, which is not going to come soon. I hope that it can be an information tool in the coming years. But as long as we don't have that, there are still possibilities for the public procurement agencies to use certain levers to ask for more durable products. So yes, it is possible to design durable products. And as long as we do not have mandatory product legislation specifically for notebooks, then we need to use the lever of public procurement agencies to drive the demand for durable products. And hopefully we'll get into more discussion on that point later on.
Thank you. Birgitte, are you with us with the sound now?
Yes, I am. Sorry for that.
Okay, so I'm going to first let you introduce yourself and then secondly react to what Siddharth was saying. When it comes to procurement, have you looked into more durability? Is that something that you think about when you do your procurements of IT products?
Should I present myself first?
Yes, let's go with that first.
Yeah, I'm Birgitte Krabs-Lehmann. I'm a product manager in City of Aalborg, where I've been working with sustainable, green, and circular procurement for 4 or 5 years. I'm working in the environmental and energy department, so I'm not working at the purchase department. And I've been working with some pilots about circular procurement. Yeah.
And when it comes to procurement of more durable product, is this on your agenda?
Not right now, sorry for that.
And what about Johan and Josephine? Is this something that you have reflected on in your procurement discussions?
Well, actually quite a lot,
yes.
if I may.
Who goes first? Okay.
We can start with Johan.
Ladies first, maybe.
Yeah? Okay, Josephine, go ahead.
Yes, definitely. We've worked with this for some years, actually, extending the lifetime of laptops, for example. It used to be 3 years standard. Now it's 4 years. We would like to, of course, extend even more, but for them to work in our IT environment, for now 4 years it's maximum. Of course, there are laptops that last longer, but this is the minimum. And we work a lot with repairs and try to have a criteria when we buy new equipment. Try to have the criteria of extended warranty. Unfortunately, as someone mentioned before, repairs is right now it's far too expensive to motivate the user to repair instead of buying something new. So we work both with our consumption behavior, the using behavior, and with trying to motivate the industry to produce more durable products.
And before letting Johan in, I have a follow-up question to you, Josephine. What was the industry's reaction when you prolonged from 3 to 4 years? Did you receive any obstacles?
Actually, that was before my time, but as far as I've heard, nothing. It's possible. We have right now. We purchase 100% TCO certified laptops, monitors, and Chromebooks. And the industry has had no problems living up to that criteria. So it's going well.
Good to hear. Okay, Johan, so what's your experience here?
Well, first of all, I'm not a purchaser myself, so I advise on systemic and organization changes. We have worked a lot with circular economy and procurement. And, well, there are a few things to say about longer use and durability. I hear an echo. Am I the only one?
I cannot hear it in the studio, so I think it's you,
okay,
I'm afraid.
Then I'll just try to keep on talking through my own voice. One is a longer use of a product is a very interesting step from a lot of sustainable perspectives. But in the end, if you don't know what will happen with the product after the second or third or fifth life of a product, you still don't know if it will be recycled. So you still don't know if it's circular. So it's a step ahead, but it's not the only step you should take. You should arrange something after that. The other, well, actually, that slipped my mind because of the echo. Very sorry. I'll come back to that later, I guess.
Yes, we will come back to your second point there. Yes, Sebastian.
Yes, thank you. So I just want to catch up on what's been said about the procurement. And there was this great study by ITEA Sustainability Forum last year, which looked into the IT procurement officers in the Nordics. And there was, well, if you look, people could imagine them giving away or selling their old IT, but to a really high degree, but it was only to a low degree that they could purchase refurbished. And I think this is a problematic part, because as long as the input is linear, we will never transform to a circular economy. It will simply be a bit more circular electronics in a linear world. To prolong the lifetime, that's great. We also need to look at the input.
Thank you for raising that. I've read through also the rolling in questions, which is great, scrolling through. They're coming up questions now about reuse, upgrade, and repair, which is a kind of, for this to work, to keep your products for longer, that's what needs to happen, right? That's what Andreas was talking about in his presentation. Steve, do you want to react a little bit on what purchasers have said about your model and how what you contribute with for this prolonging the life of IT products?
Thank you. Yeah, I think we all agree that reusing or extending the life of the asset is a positive thing. There's no downside to that. The difficulty is in the consistency and quality and volume required, particularly in the public sector, to maintain that habit. And so, from a strategic point of view, they find it challenging to bury sustainable procurement actually into the organisation, because maybe they're looking at assets within their own organisation, whereas remanufacturing will effectively add a service break, if you like, to the asset. Now, if we agree that every laptop or mobile device has a slightly different behaviour to the next one, you can adopt certain repair and serviceability thinking to assets you already own. But I think a more sensible strategy is one where you can change your asset for a not new asset, like a refurbished or a remanufactured, adopt the sustainability benefits that creates. So it's almost like a semicircular habit, and then work out what to do with the assets that are coming out of your organisation to close the loop, to sort of keep them in use somehow. So we try and approach it with a semicircular environment. Like Sebastian said, we offer products that have been used before, but we bring them back to a state that the new user can use and in volume. Yeah.
I think that's an excellent example of prolonging the life of a product. How, because it needs to be looked at from different angles, right? And there are several things you can do. The important thing is that you actually try and not just treat it as discarded after your 3 years or after you've seen something new coming on the market that looks shinier, which, oh. Yes, Johan, did you think about your second point here?
Yeah, that's it. Listening to Steve, I realized my second point, and it's one of the things we advise organizations to implement circularity is to focus more on their functional need. There's never anybody who needs a new laptop unless they have none. But what you need actually is access to the internet, access to your office applications, and a device that provides that on a certain service level and quality level. So ask for that, and you shouldn't care about if the device will be new or secondhand or upgraded or refurbished or whatever. And that way you can also leave the management of the devices with the suppliers, because they know more about that and they know how to upgrade and repair and remanufacture. They could keep it in their own loop until it's finally end of life, and then you'll be quite sure that they can manage to take it to recycling and get the materials back again. That was my added point.
Did you want to reflect on it, Siddharth, or?
Yeah, I just wanted to say also, first, it's good to hear, Josephine, that they have increased the use time from 3 to 4 years. But at the same time, looking into the trends in the IT products, especially the notebooks which are designed today, the evidence actually suggests that already today, the average first use of notebooks is somewhere between 5 to 6 years. So that's only the first use. So the technology is already out there, which on average allows for longer use times. And for notebooks especially, it's clear that it's now a very stable product group. So innovation cycles are quite longer. And it's not a lifestyle product anymore as it used to be, let's say 15 years ago. So people normally expect it to work as a kind of a working horse. So provide the function, provide the performance, but it's not really replaced because of a desire for a better function or a better product. But normally people substitute notebooks in the private sector, but also in the public sector, or should actually do after the first defect has taken place. So it's not a lifestyle product, but it's a product which is normally being replaced and changed after the first defect. So that's the entry point for the discussion, how we can prolong the this time phase where first defect happens. And I think, and this is something which we have been mentioning for quite a while now, especially for public procurement agencies, there are leverage points. For example, if you're asking for your supplier to provide longer warranty times, for example, 3 years at least, or maybe even longer, and then also asking to provide not only the durability warranty for certain components like a battery, but also technical support and also repairs and provision of spare parts at the same time, which is a part of a contract, then you actually shift this period of first defect from 3 years, 4 years to 6 years, because this is what the current state of technology actually is telling us, that 6 years is something which is very easily achievable for the first use.
Thank you for that. And actually, there are questions rolling in on this topic. They're asking for some concrete particular tips for laptops to retain a longer life. And I think you gave us one concrete here to push the kind of first point of replaceability and asking for longer warranties. Is there anything else you want to add to that list, having looked into this, Siddharth?
Yeah, the second point is, of course, and I think it was talked about by Sebastian and also by others, is to look into more innovative forms of cooperation in the public procurement. So you have the manufacturer as a supplier, but you have now, at least in Europe, plenty of highly professional refurbished centers and companies who are offering with warranties, refurbished products, high quality products. So why not try to design or draft contracts, for example, which encourage partnerships between manufacturers and these refurbishing companies who are giving the guarantee that once the product, for example, is defect and needs to be replaced in the public agency, then it will be taken back and then refurbished and brought to the market again. And it may be not in the same public agency, but in a different one with probably different demands which are related to that product. For example, in the schools or in the universities, where maybe the demand for a specific product might be different. So I think we need more innovative forms of contractual relationships that can be used within the public procurement.
Thank you. And I also think that comes down a lot to individual responsibility and how you treat your product. The fact that, like Andreas was giving an example of our CEO that has an 8-year-old computer still doing heavy high process intense work on it, and it's still working fine. So sometimes it's a matter of upgrading and just making sure that your product has the right components in it, not replacing the whole thing, but maybe parts of it for it to be up to date. But another point that I think is interesting here is the fact that there are things that also the user can do to prolong life. And one of the things we've spoken a lot about, I'm looking at my colleague Andreas Nobel here, is looking at the battery life and what to do with the battery. I know you tell me all the time in the office, at least, don't charge it fully. Can you elaborate a little bit on this and what we can do as consumers?
Yeah, sure. So in a lot of newer laptops, at least, there are software built in where you can actually manage where the battery is being charged in between. So for example, if you don't charge your laptop over 80%, that can be a very good thing. So you don't apply charge over time, which will wear out your battery. And the same goes if you go down below 20%. So that's the kind of the sweet spot we have seen during our research. Being between 20 and 80% is great. And today there is software for this. So this should be always turned on. If you're working with your notebook in front of a desk 8 hours a day, you don't need to have it fully loaded all the time. So make sure to turn that on, because that will save your battery maybe 1 or 2 extra years, I'd say. And that's very easy.
Is it a similar, I saw in the report, also related to hot and cold weather?
Yeah, so that's also a thing. Extreme temperatures affects the battery a lot because it's chemistry, right? So if you're in a hot environment or if you leave your notebook out in the sun, you will have faster degradation of the battery. So that's also something to think about. Maybe don't have your computer in close proximity to a window where the sun is shining down on the computer if you have it closed. Can be a very easy solution. But also make sure that it's dust-free. Use your vacuum cleaner maybe once in a while to vacuum out all the dust so it doesn't clog up, because then it might become hotter. So there's different ways of doing this to just prolong your lifetime of the batteries, and with simple steps that's basically free of charge that you can apply straight away.
Thank you. Does anyone in the panel want to react to this more? What you can do as a user of IT products? Or maybe Siddharth, do you have any insights from your research on this subject?
Well, I think, yes, one of the points, I think it was mentioned by Johan, if I understood it correctly, is to do the planning according to some kind of a forward-looking planning. So that actually means that when you buy a product today, you somehow need to estimate your user behavior in 5 years. So it's better rather to invest in a product which is more adaptive towards your changing requirements over the years. So that actually would mean that, for example, if you perceive that your requirements related to, let's say, the graphics or something else changes over a time, it's better to ask for a product where, for example, the graphic card is upgradable, for instance, or your demand for data storage or internal memory is supposed to change over the years. Then ask for a product where the upgrade of the internal memory of RAM, for example, is possible. So it's important to have a kind of a forward planning procurement. so that you are not frustrated after 3 years because you're with the product, because your demand from the product has changed. So this is also one of the things which from buyer's perspective can be more put into practice.
Birgitte, you wanted to react to that?
Yes, it's when I've been talking to the use of our laptops and equipment, it's the behavior is very important, because when I see some laptops, they're completely ruined because they have been dropped on the floor a lot of time. So if you want to reuse it for a long time, you have to treat it well and as a value equipment, so it doesn't ruin, like crack the screen, or the box or the cover is completely ruined. So it's very simple just to behave in a different way, like always put your laptop in a sleeve, or your smartphone, have a cover for that, and so on.
Fully agree. Yeah. Yeah, Josephine, you wanted to also jump in here.
Yes, for us as a public sector organization, it all starts in the procurement process. So what we did in the city of Malmö, we procured, instead of procuring a product, we procured a strategic partner for IT supply management. I don't remember the exact formulation there, but which means that we're not stuck with a product supplier, but we have a strategic partner that we can we have dialogue with ongoing, and when we have new recommendations, for example, as the ones that Siddharth is mentioning, we have the possibility of using that in the next criteria for buying products like laptops or smartphones. And now we're 2 years into a 3 or 4 years contract, and we see that it's working very well, because we have been pushing the industry towards more circularity. We've been raising the bar together with the supplier, which is Atea Sweden. And we have an ongoing dialogue that allows us to always raising the criteria. So we have been also nominated to Innovative Procurement of the Year by Procura Plus, European Network of Public Procurement, and we see that it's been successful. It takes a lot of time in the procurement process, both from the buyer and the contracting agent, but it allows for a lot of flexibility, actually.
Fantastic example. I see a lot of hands in the air now. I think Andreas was first, so I'll let you in.
Thank you. So I would like to echo what Siddharth actually said. I think it's important to map out all the needs inside of your organization, and then maybe if you're going to buy new computers, start with the heavy-duty users and start procuring from them, because if you do that, these products will eventually trickle down through the organization and thus prolonging the lifetime of that product. Instead of starting to focus with maybe lighter workloads where these products, if you just buy towards these needs, they will go out from the organization and maybe end up on a dump site. So I think it's important to start with the heavy users, and then you can use these products throughout the organization for those with lesser needs for performance and whatnot over the coming years. So that is also a very good thing, Siddharth. Thank you.
If you start lower down in the tier, think more circular. Perhaps there are second-hand or refurbished
that's a good idea
out there for the more low performance that you may still need in your organization. I think Johan was next in line here. Go ahead.
What Siddharth quoted me on actually was not specifically what I meant, but it sounds everything is a smart thing to do as long as you can set steps in the right direction. But what I meant is don't buy a computer anymore, but buy the functionality you need. And like Sebastian said, for the one user in your organization, that's quite a different level of needs and quality needed than for the other. But if you pay for the performance of your device and the device stays in ownership of the supplier, then you will still have whatever functionality you need. And if the functionality changes, you can just change that by getting another device from your supplier, and the supplier gets the device back, can eventually clean it, repair it, refurbish it, and put it in either somewhere else in your organization or in another organization.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. Steve?
I tend to echo what Johan is saying, that we're seeing device as a service being mentioned more and more now in the public sector, which is reassuring, in that it should promote, in my world anyway, in the world of remanufacturing, it could accelerate change. If the user gets the technology that they need that is not linear, and the product's able to be serviced and put back into their fleet or into another fleet somewhere else, but it's not being put into a waste stream, then that's what I believe needs to be achieved. So finding the right product for the right persona type is very important. It's not a one-shoe-fits-all. It's about functionality and delivery. If you can do your job with a particular asset, make sure that you get the right asset. You're not over-specifying, which is a common problem. You're getting the asset for your particular job function. And then make sure that you have a serviceability with a supply partner like Atia in Sweden, who are able to offer you a Go IT loop service, maybe a reuse model, or some refurbished products from the likes of Inrego. There's an adoption of different product types for the job set, and so we're seeing that move already.
Thank you for that point. I see there are hands in the air, and there are also a lot of questions rolling in. Gabriella, what are the trends now? What are they interested in?
Yeah, they're asking, there are plenty of organizations here asking how they actually can prolong the life of a computer.
So the more practical tips.
Yeah, what shall they actually do? If they have one, they don't want to buy any new ones. Even if they want to, what shall they do?
Andreas, do you want to reflect on that?
Yeah, first of all, I would say battery is extremely important. Make sure that you change the battery, because often that can be one of the major issues with your product. So that is the first thing I would go for. Then, of course, it's always good to change your storage device, because that could also make your computer feel faster if you're sitting on an old hard drive, and switching it up to a faster solid state drive. That's also a very good way of handling this. And then, of course, the RAM. If you're sitting on now I'm getting very technical here, but if you're sitting on a low amount of RAM, it can make your computer feels very slow, and that's a very easy solution if your computer can actually handle more RAM. But that are the three things. So battery, storage, and RAM is easy components to switch out on your own, actually.
And they're all replaceable?
Yeah, in some products, not all, but some products.
Yeah. And those are the products that are more durable for an organization to purchase, because that allows them to have several users.
Exactly, but they are also better from a refurbishment perspective, I would say, because that will help them prolong the life of the product and give it a new life. So yeah.